Hello, everybody. Today we have not just one, but two industry experts throwing light on the importance of ESG in the corporate world. ESG, as we know, stands for environment, social, and governance, and has become pivotal to functioning companies today. Not only the stock markets, but at an individual level, people are realizing their impact on the environment. So today we have two people from IBM. Can you guess who they are? Well, the first one is Mr. Shantanu Godbole. He's Global Lead IBM Research Sustainability. Hello, Mr. Godbole, and welcome to BW Businessworld.
Hi, Urvi. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure having you on board. So let's invite a second speaker for the day. We have Dr. Amith Singhee. He's the Director of IBM Research India and Chief Technological Officer for IBM India and South Asia. Hello, Doctor, and welcome to BW.
Hello, Urvi. Thank you for taking the time.
Right. So since we have, I would say we have a very dense panel, but not because we have more than one person, but because of the expertise that they bring on board with them. So with that, Dr. Singhee, let's start with you first. So how effective do you think is climate protection right now? How seriously are corporates taking it, say, as compared to pre-pandemic era?
Yeah, I think climate protection as part of the overall ESG strategy that many corporates are looking at is becoming increasingly important. There is so much awareness within the corporate community, within a company, but also from the boardroom, from their consumers. I think globally there is a lot of attention to it, and that is resulting in a more structured approach that many corporates are taking towards this. They're looking at, what are the specific areas where we need to do. And in fact, from IBM, we engage with them in a very structured way also. So we see, certain key imperatives that a lot of the corporates across industries are embarking on to try and address climate and sustainability in general. Shantanu, maybe you would like to add something too.
Sure. So I think ESG reporting and acting on ESG has no longer been like something that, people just do it for the sake of announcement, but people have started taking it seriously. And some of these very large global surveys that IBM runs with our clients, which are some of the biggest enterprises in the world, we know that 4 out of 5 CEOs are expecting sustainability to really start affecting their revenue, their bottom line, top line in the next 5 years or so. But at the same time, only about a fourth of them are saying that they have real initiatives and, they're using their data and AI and other kind of emerging technologies to really make that happen. So that's the kind of friction that we see. And, as technologists, we are kind of trying to help bring solutions to the market to really help address that gap. And we'll talk about that a bit.
Right. So as you mentioned that companies are indeed taking sustainability and ESG a lot more seriously, and it is not just talk now, but is boiling down to groundwork. So what kind of work is being done? We talk a lot about environment and making the world a better place and the like, but what kind of groundwork is being done by companies? Mr. Godbole, would you like to go first?
Sure. So as all of us know, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. As from a technology perspective, I think we can make the most significant and immediate and quick impact on the E side of it, the environmental side of it, which encompasses not only, your climate risk and how climate is changing over the next decadal or more kind of timeframes, because we know, right? I mean, weather forecast is something like 7 to 14 days in the future, but you see these reports coming from the UN and IPCC and so on, and there are predictions of what will happen by 2050, 2100 and so on, global temperature rise due to global warming, oceans rising, and the devastation that will cause, etc. Right? But also the other aspect of it is emissions, right? What are you kind of contributing negatively towards the environment in terms of your carbon emissions, your methane emissions, your nitrous dioxide emissions? And this is a true statement for all kinds of industries, right? Whether it's oil and gas, the heavy energy industries, agriculture, retail, consumer industries, transportation and logistics, and so on. So I think where it all starts from an E perspective is looking at the ultimate data that you have in your operations, in your ERP systems, in your systems of record. How can you actually take that? And first of all, start with reporting and understanding where you are today. Because over the last few months, we have seen the biggest corporates in India and abroad start making commitments saying that we will be net zero by 2030 or 2040 or 2050, right? But there are, of course, initiatives like the Science Based Target Initiative and others. But what everyone needs is a kind of a tactical and a strategic operational plan on really meaningfully cutting down your emissions while protecting your business interests, your business KPIs, like, cost and revenue and those kind of business metrics. So what we have started seeing companies do over the last several months is at least start paying attention to the first layer, which is understand, measure, and report where you are today, because only then will you be able to chart out a path to the future about where you want to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, and how will you operationalize it across your operations, right? What I mean is, this matters to your heavy asset industries. This matters to your infrastructure, your office buildings, your factories. This matters to your supply chains. This matters to your data centers, wherever your IT workloads are running, right? Maybe on some cloud or something like that. Across all of these, there is definitely a play for technology, and we have started seeing enterprises start to use that kind of data and AI based on that data technologies to start measuring. And then eventually we know they want to go towards reducing and optimizing it, while, as I said, keeping the business metrics in mind. So this is an activity that we have clearly seen start happening post-pandemic, definitely over the last year or so.
You summarized it very well, and you've covered almost all aspects. So, Dr. Singhee, I have a question for you. Since we have ESG going across all the facets of the corporate world, across every vertical, what are the issues that come when we talk about implementing these policies at the ground level?
Yeah, I think the issues are also quite a few. One Shantanu also alluded to is just having the visibility of where are my issues, where are my hotspots, where are my opportunities. Is while technology is available for that, approaches are getting available for that, it's not that they have been implemented. So a lot of corporates struggle with figuring out their starting points and their priority areas. When they do, the other part of it is a lot of this is ecosystem impact. For example, if supply chains, right, they can be a big contributor to climate impact, carbon impact. And so just because one player making a change can have an impact, but it's so interlinked with everybody else in the ecosystem. Sometimes the ecosystem needs to collaborate and come together for that. And then the technology element, while a lot of technology is surfacing to provide that visibility and ability to optimize how you manage your assets, how you manage your supply chain, it does still need to proceed more and find that adoption in the industry, in the corporates, so that they know how to leverage it in their business. A lot of that education, a lot of that strategic understanding is still not there. So I would say these are some of the roadblocks. But given the intention that we see, I think corporates are moving forward on addressing these roadblocks also.
When you talk about
just to add,
yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, just to complete that thought, another significant not significant, but definitely a roadblock that we have started to encounter is that as over the last couple of years or so, people have started waking up to this topic, there still is a siloed approach saying that I want to solve my problems. And that me could be government, it could be an enterprise, it could be an academic institution trying to do things, right? But definitely what we have understood is that there has to be much more broad-based collaboration, and there has already activity been started in terms of the formation of consortia, right? There are enterprise consortiums, university consortiums, all of them which are trying to come together to form a brain trust. But on the technology side also, we have started and we have been part of some of these initiatives to really start bringing technology consortiums together, because the kind of problems that need to be solved are not solvable by one entity or one enterprise or one university alone. So having that foundational base where people can come together, with large amounts of data. I mean, if you take the climate modeling problem, it's something which requires petabytes and exabytes of data, and the kind of scale to process that kind of infrastructure is really hard to come by except in some very, very big entities, right? So that collaboration and then the technology which will work on top of all that to enable this whole mitigation and adaptation strategies for enterprises as well as more broadly in the public sector is definitely something that's going to be required. So collaboration is definitely something we want to touch upon.
The idea of collaboration reminds me of an old saying that I read a long time ago, say in a school textbook, that we have not inherited the world from our parents, but we have borrowed it from our children. So, yes, the idea of taking all stakeholders together is quite relevant. There's no I in environment. Not literally, but metaphorically. So with that, as you said that you also spoke about technology being a very important part of it. And when we talk about technology, one of the upcoming aspects of this is AI or artificial intelligence. So Mr. Godbole, would you like to shed light on how AI is being used in the sustainability space right now?
Sure. So I will probably address this in kind of three clusters, right? One is, the operations of an enterprise, as I said earlier, depends on their facilities, their assets, their buildings, office spaces, factories, and so on. And all of this, as we know, generates a huge amount of data. And there are lots of golden nuggets hidden across this data. And it is these machine learning and AI-based techniques which are helping to uncover those, insights. And the insights from a perspective of, the two things that we have been talking about, right? One is climate risk, one is decarbonization and overall responsibility to the environment. Identifying all of that data, bringing it together in, call it a data lake, call it a data fabric, or whatever you want to, but really then kind of emerging out of that insights around your hotspots in your operations. How can you do things better? How can you run your infrastructure, your machinery better? Is something that has to be done, is being done, and people have already starting adopting those kind of solutions which are available from several technology vendors. The other space is, of course, this whole notion of supply chains, because that's a very global problem, because every meaningful supply chain today is a cross-border supply chain, raw material from somewhere, subcomponents from somewhere, assembly somewhere, and then things are getting sold somewhere else, right? And all of these supply chains have so many entities involved, not only these big companies, but also small players, SMEs, and in the developing world and so on. How do you really get everyone together on this whole roadmap of circularity and making the whole supply chain more sustainable, more responsible, is definitely an area of work. And emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, all of them play a great role in kind of that data visibility, data quality, trust and bias kind of issues that exist in the data, highlighting all of that so that the people who can make business decisions are more empowered to make those kind of business decisions. The third space is the whole area of cloud or IT infrastructure, and where people run their very serious workloads around, say, whether it's simulations of climate, or the financial world running our financial transactions, or it's like these big oil and gas companies doing drilling and mining and so on and so forth. All of this again generates a lot of data, and all of this requires huge compute power, right? So there are these very big cloud vendors, people have their own infrastructure. Identifying using AI and other kind of techniques in machine learning, anomaly detection, and so on and so forth, there's a huge laundry list there. Identify how do you optimally place your workloads, how do you shift your workloads from one infrastructure to somewhere where it is more efficient, where there is more utilization, or where maybe green energy is present. There are many levers you can control, right? So across all of this is where we see the application of AI, right? This whole area of infrastructure and facilities management, supply chain, and obviously, this green IT, responsible IT, or, this whole compute infrastructure part of it. And I'd like to invite Amith to say more about this space, but this is how I see AI definitely playing a role in all of this, with ESG as a foundation, but then really operationalizing your ambition into action.
Yes, Dr. Singhee, your take, please.
I think Shantanu did cover a good amount of ground. I would perhaps just state another example that we worked on a few years ago in IBM Research. It was, I think, quite relevant, which is in the area of fashion, for instance, right? And it ties back to the supply chain example, where you may know, Urvi, that fashion serves the masses, but it also results in tremendous waste and impact on the environment. And there are many reasons for it. One of the levers that we tried using AI for was to predict whether a product would be successful in the market, how successful would it be, and where do you need to actually stock it versus where would it not be required. So predictive technology like this that combines computer vision from AI to understand the the design features of, say, a fashion product and relates it back to the market characteristics, and then does a predictive analysis. This is a great example of how you can actually bring intelligence into your supply chain planning, which helps your business because you, of course, end up with more profitability, but also helps on the sustainability side, both for your business and for your ecosystem.
Right. I would also like to ask you that how does IBM utilize these technologies in addition to the initiatives that are already being taken? What is the role of AI when it comes to IBM achieving its sustainability goals? Dr. Singhee, you first.
Yes, IBM uses it on all these areas actually that Shantanu mentioned, right? We have our own supply chain for example, for our server technology, there's a global supply chain that we have for the parts, for the software, for the hardware, for manufacturing. And we have one of the, I would say, most intelligent supply chain processes in the world. Recently, there was much material published about it that has been optimized quite a bit using both AI technologies and optimization technologies to make it very effective, reduce waste, make the right part available at the right time without excess. Around managing our assets and infrastructure using our own technology, right? Whether it's Tririga or Maximo. Looking at energy, every year we have actually very significant energy reduction targets. A lot of these are reported in our own sustainability report that we do. And for that, we have internally implemented a combination of IoT technologies and AI technologies to bring that visibility and to bring that optimization that helps us to bring sustainability in our own enterprise.
Right, Mr. Godbole, Dr. Singhee mentioned that you have a sustainability report that comes out. So can you shed light on some of the sustainability initiatives or the targets that you have achieved in the report that has come out hence?
Yeah, so this is something, not the sustainability report per se, but it has been about 50 or 51 years now that IBM has been reporting from a perspective of our responsibility to the environment. The name of the report has changed obviously over the years, but what we currently call our corporate environmental report is what we are talking about. And it has been regularly coming out every year. And we have set, I think last year we announced that we have set a 2030 target for net zero without depending on things like carbon offsets and purchasing our way out of it, using renewable energy certificates and so on and so forth, right? By really committing to reducing our carbon footprint with more and more purchase of renewable energy and enacting some of the optimizations and some of the AI-based hotspot reduction that Amith was talking about. And IBM is a great believer in something called client zero. I think it's an industry term. So we eat our own cooking. So a lot of the innovations that happen in research are first tested out by our own CIO or CSO team, where we kind of use those innovations ourselves before they make their way into some of our flagship products like the Environmental Intelligence Suite or Maximo or Tririga, as Amith mentioned. And then we obviously have a large consulting and services practice, which is also focused on sustainability. So our innovations kind of are tested with IBM before they come into our products, which are then, of course, scaled out to many more clients. And all of these are kind of definitely data and AI driven technologies. And that's what has been a very big focus area for us for the last couple of years and more, and will continue to do so in the future.
Right. So since we've covered the broad contours of what IBM is doing and what is the future of sustainability, I would like to invite closing comments from both of you regarding what is the future of IBM when we talk about CSR and sustainability and ESG as a whole. So Dr. Singhee, let's start with you. What are the plans henceforth in addition to what has already been achieved?
Oh, I think the plans are very big. And in fact, a lot of these are also published in the last report. Shantanu mentioned about the 2030 net zero target, but as part of that, there are many other component targets, both within our enterprise, around reducing energy consumption by hundreds of thousands of megawatts of energy over just 4 years or so, improving our average data center cooling efficiency by 20% over a period of just 6 years. So all of these are non-trivial. They will need a lot of innovation that we are already working on, because it's not just about Data centers, for example, have existed for many years. So you actually have to stretch beyond by using technology such as IoT and AI. All of that we envision doing. But we also see ourselves as a catalyst for bringing positive change through technology in the world. So we have also committed ourselves to engaging 100 clients, whether it's through our consulting services, our products, our research division, to help our clients also implement a lot of these things out there in the world and bring that learning together, create an ecosystem that actually understands how technology can help drive sustainable change.
Mr. Godbole, what's your take? What is the future of sustainability henceforth?
So I'd like to kind of repeat my earlier point around collaboration and ecosystem, right? I think we are really developing discovery accelerators for the world and for enterprises and governments to do their job better and kind of collaborate with us and with the broader ecosystem to invent these mitigation and adaptation solutions, which are the main things that the whole ESG world needs to go after and is going after. So my closing comment would really be, again, a call for collaboration and kind of, being part of some of these large networks that have been set up or are being set up in terms of, as I said, technology consortia, networks around, climate modeling or decarbonization and so on. There are a lot of private sector consortiums already in play, but I think accelerating the discovery of how these entities work and how they can solve specific problems in specific industries, right? Because we understand as technologists that the domain expertise will lie in a particular industry. But what are the technology foundations that we need to develop that can then help them scale their discovery, whether it's in the healthcare space or the oil and gas space or in the agriculture space, at a much faster rate, with 10x, 100x more efficiency, because it's not as if we have centuries to solve this problem, right? As you see a lot of call to arms with, COP27 around the corner. I think it's in exactly a month from now. This topic is definitely going to be hot. And that's what my closing comment would be around.
Right. I think the effects of COP26 are still being felt by people the world over. So I hope we are all braced up now for COP27. With that, I would like to thank you for joining us, Dr. Singhee and Mr. Godbole. On a weekday, I'm sure you have other commitments also, but you took out time to share your thoughts. So I would like to thank you on behalf of BW Businessworld.